It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast, as we cover the very latest in property news every morning on iHeartRadio, Spotify, of course, also Apple Podcasts and Amazon. And have you noticed anything different in the property market to last year when you were looking? If you're buying, are you seeing more buyers competing, trying to steal the property from under you? Well, if the agent feedback is anything to go by, there is definitely an increased appetite to buy, certainly increasing in February. And last week we were talking about your house insurance, your home contents insurance as well, which have all gone up, in some cases quite substantially. We talked about this pensioner in WA who proudly owned a modest family home. He was 88 years of age. Unfortunately, he passed away back in 2021, but his premiums totally unaffordable, reaching over $9,500, and that amount was more than double the regional average. So we're going to talk to somebody who's had a little bit of experience with prices with insurance, etc. And her name is Rachel, and she is in Canberra. And a very good morning to you, Rachel. Welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning.
Hey there, thanks for having me.
So you got a feel for the poor old 88-year-old, with his modest family home in WA, more than double the regional average. Now, you've had your own story. Your home insurance automatically renewed with a 35% increase and a $65,000 lower coverage. So that's all a little bit of a mystery, I guess, when that turns up.
Look, it was a shock, and I didn't actually realise because it was automatically drawing out of my account. And one day I noticed it probably 2 months after it had drawn down, and I checked it and it had gone up from $197 per month up to $267 per month, which is 35% increase. And nobody had told me about it. They hadn't asked, do I agree? Do I sign up for this new amount or policy? That's when I rang them and I said, what's going on? And they confirmed with me. And when I did some more digging, they said the only answer I could get out of them as to why was this is due to inflation.
That is a fantastic word to use if you're an insurer, because it encapsulates everything. Oh, sorry, it's inflation. Because the other point about inflation, everybody knows that inflation has increased. But let's just come back to this point about the way that it has gone up. See, with these automatic payments, they've got to let you know. It's courtesy to say, look, we have looked at your premiums. They are going up. This is the amount that we're going to be deducting from your automatic payment. I mean, it's common courtesy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They just reached on in there and grabbed it out. And that's why I do my banking very differently now. I only leave an amount in my bank that I am expecting to be retrieved, that I've authorised. So if it overdraws, I know it's because someone's reached in without my permission. And then I choose to use cash as much as I can.
Yeah, that's a great idea, isn't it? Because I can't tell you the amount of times that I have bought a subscription and it's supposedly just for 12 months and it rolls over, and you know what I'm going to say next, right?
Yeah, it happened to me with Ancestry.com, and I had to ring them in America and I said, excuse me, and they did refund me, but it was hard to get the refund. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, let's take it first and make it really difficult for them to work out how to get in contact with us, because that's another issue. How do you contact these people overseas?
Yeah, and that's why I just use cash. I don't keep my money as much as I can digitally these days because I have more control over it that way.
Well, they do say that cash is king and they're trying to get rid of cash. And I remember talking to economist Warren Hogan, who said, never, ever, ever get rid of cash. We do not want to be a cashless society. And I agree.
Yeah, absolutely not. And I actually have a letter from the Treasury Department that promises that they are upholding that. I mean, who knows if and when they can change their mind, but I have the letter. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, cash has to remain in Australia.
And you were telling me off air that you have owned and sold multiple properties. You've lived in different countries as well. You've done the whole renting aspect out. So you're not exactly new to the property market. So this is another good reason why we wanted to talk to you, because you're not somebody who's a first-time buyer. You've got all this experience you've seen those premiums go up, but this is something different.
Yeah, this is definitely something different. It was quite of a shock, I must say. I've lived overseas in a couple of different continents, and then I've built homes in Australia and bought and sold homes in Australia as well. So I'm familiar with, you need insurance for your property and you pay your insurance and you do it. It's just part of it. And then getting this increase so suddenly with no explanation, I was unhappy with it, but I was unhappy for not just myself, actually, and that's what spurred me to speak publicly about it. And when I spoke to ABC about it as well, I thought of all of those people, they just can't afford it. I managed to afford it, but what about people who are already struggling? That's what made me really angry, and it's not acceptable.
And what about the government? Do you think that the government should be doing a little bit more than what they're currently doing in this area? Should they be more active?
Look, it's very interesting you should ask that, because I had noticed in September the Assistant Treasurer, Stephen Jones, went overseas along with the Insurance Council of Australia. They went to London and Munich in September last year. And they went there to meet with the global insurance leaders to discuss the impact of what's going on in Australia, markets and premiums. And apparently they had a high-level dialogue, and it's the first of its kind. So I was naturally skeptical, because I thought to myself, who are these global reinsurers? And they're the ones, it seems, driving this pressure on Australia. And it turns out, these reinsurance brokers are big names like Marsh McLennan, Guy Carpenter and Aon, Munich, Swiss. There's the UN Principles for Responsible Investment. There's the London Market Group, Association for British Insurers. So our Australian Assistant Minister went over for the first time to London and Munich. We don't have a great deal of what happened over there. I don't have a lot of information. I've asked for it. I'm like, what actually took place? I don't know. I don't know what the outcome was of that conversation. I believe in good faith that, they went over there to say, hello, us in Australia, we don't like what we're seeing here. What's going on? What's driving this increase? They are blaming climate change. I think that's frankly ridiculous, because Australia's a 200-year-old country. How can we possibly have seen such a jump? That to me is not a legitimate argument to up it by 35%. The government's trying. I don't think they've got answers, frankly. So I would like to see them do more. I would like to see, it go to cabinet. I would like them to see them establish a publicly backed and independent insurance option for Australians. And I really think that would help, because then we wouldn't be relying on all those global reinsurers.
I think, Rachel, you need to be on the committee, the government's chair perhaps in the committee driving this forward. You've got my vote.
Oh, thanks. I ask a lot of questions. I ask dumb questions, which I don't mind doing. And I'm used to explaining things to toddlers. I've got teenagers and I've got elderly parents and grandparents. So I think whatever happens in Australia, we need it to be intelligible by all. And government has to do more, and they have to explain what they're doing in very plain language as well. And this insurance issue for homeowners, it's very, very important.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just lastly, what about the stress levels, do you think? The stress and the anxiety of premiums. It's kind of like rates. Rates can induce people to skip a heartbeat or two, but I think these premiums are definitely right up there in terms of how you feel about your property.
Totally. In the ABC interview, they picked up on another person they spoke to from one of the peaks, and he said insurance is the canary in a coal mine. And it's interesting because if that's the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, of people's stress levels, you can imagine the level of stress among Australian citizens right now, not only homeowners, but also renters. People who have to pay insurance, they have to pay it. They have no choice. So what are you going to do? Not insure your home? And also, what are you going to do? Not feed your family? And how are you going to choose between the two?
Yes.
It's highly stressful. And actually, speaking to one of my girlfriends, she works to care for elderly people. She visits 80-year-old women daily. She said to me today, she'd been speaking to all these 80-year-old women who are really wise and knowledgeable. And she said an emerging theme was coming out from that demographic. They noticed in their lifespan that living in today's society with our financial pressures, etc., is vastly harder than what they remember when they were raising their families.
Absolutely. There has never been a time, I think, certainly in our lifetime, where the expense of just living from day to day has been at the expense and the cost that it is right now. Hey, Rachel, great to catch up with you and have you explain that to all of our listeners. And I think talking on behalf of the listeners, you did such a great job. And thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
We don't just report on real estate news, we take you to the source of the information. We produce more property podcasts every week than anyone else. We are your trusted guide for all things real estate.
Just coming back to the auction volumes, because they continue to rise in February. In fact, they're 19% up compared to last year.
Oh, definitely. I definitely just on that. I mean, we've been seeing the first couple of weekends in February and then the weekend just past, Sydney sort of hovering around the 70% mark, Melbourne high 60%, Brisbane around 50%. The really good properties, the quality properties, they're the ones in the highest demand. It's the B-grade substandard properties. They're the ones that typically pass in and you see there's a bit of haggling happening after the auction. There's definitely going to be more choice this year because we are starting to see a lot more motivated selling.
Don't navigate the real estate market alone. Let us help guide you in the world of real estate every day. Make better informed decisions with the latest news and insights. We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.